Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Blazer Victory Podcast, episode number 80. This is your co host, John Duncan, and I'm joined, as always, with my co host, Steve Irvine. And unfortunately, Steve, our Blazers 2021-2022 season does come to an end at the hands of the Houston Cougars. UAB loses 82-68. And man, I swear I can still see that Edwards for Houston drilling another 3-pointer.
Yeah, yeah. You didn't see that coming. I mean,
No,
he hadn't shot that way really all year. Not like that. I mean, he's capable. I mean, hey, that's a really good team.
it is.
Better than I really thought they were. I knew they were good, but man, they played well, and they did. The way they play defense is just it's hard to score on those guys, and the way they hit the offensive rebounds. Even though I thought they did, UAB did a good job on holding them off the offensive boards in the second half. But first half it obviously made a difference, and so you expected those things because you knew coming in, but you certainly didn't expect them to shoot like they did. So give them credit; they knocked them down. Now they had open shots. I mean, they weren't necessarily contested shots for the most part, but they knocked them down, and it's a great team, and give them credit. And I was really I really admired the way UAB just kept fighting. I
Yes.
mean, it was a night they could have given up, and I don't think they ever did. I mean, I don't think they ever gave up, and so you gotta admire that. But it's a great season, and it's a shame it ended like that. But you just got to tip your cap to Houston. They played a great game, and I think they're gonna make some noise. We'll see. A tough game. Uh, Sunday. Even though I wasn't very impressed with Illinois,
No.
in that game, but hey, they found a way to win. So, and that's what this tournament's about. And sometimes, it's funny is sometimes you'll watch a game and you'll see a team like what Houston did last night, and then they'll come out and lay an egg the next night, and you'll see a team that struggles and they'll come out and play a great game. So you never know. You never know in this tournament.
Yeah, they're definitely right about that. But yeah, I'm just so proud. Like you mentioned, Steve. I mean, there was plenty of times, especially early on in the game, where UAB could have just packed it in and just said, you know what, Houston's making everything they're making
Yeah.
all their shots, and let's just hey, we're just proud to be here, whatever. But they fought hard and even got it to within I think 6 or 7 in the second half.
Yeah,
Um,
I got to
but
7. Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I was just impressed with this Houston team, and we you go back to our last episode where we previewed this matchup. I thought there was a way UAB could find a way to win this game, but I was definitely not expecting the 3-point performance that Houston and in particular Kyler Edwards had against UAB, especially in the first half. But to only be down at when UAB was only down by 9 at the half, and the way Houston that first half went for Houston, I was like, okay, UAB still in this game. We can still just keep chipping away, and it seems every time UAB would chip away at that lead, Houston would just go on an instant quick 7-0 run and just extend
Right.
it back up to 14 or 15. But hey, like you just said, Steve, hell of a season for UAB. 27 wins, most in a season in program history. There's things UAB can build on off of this season. Going forward into next season. Jelly, I mean, still had 17 points, but 1 of 10 from three. Just wasn't his night, and that's okay. That's what happens in the tournament. It's like you mentioned earlier. Some nights you're on fire, and then the next day you're just can't catch a break. So,
Yeah.
but I think that goes credit to Houston too, because they were smothering on the defensive end, on the defensive side of the ball, which we knew going in they were going to be. But my God, I don't think Jelly had an open shot the whole game, really.
Yeah, and I think that's what it was. I mean, I think it was. You got to give credit to Houston. It is, yeah, yes, Jelly struggled, and yeah, he had some shots that he makes generally that came,
Hmm.
he didn't hit, but I think most of that was because of the way Houston played defense. They did a great
Yep.
job on him, and they did a great job on Ertl. I mean, and I think they took those guys, and they did a great job of not letting Quan Jackson. I think that hurt UAB a lot too. Is they didn't really let Quan Jackson get going because they didn't turn the ball over,
Hmm.
and that that's what Quan does. He turns turnovers into points, and with him only ended up with 7. that hurt also just because the way just what they did. So they did a good job of turning their scouting report into, or their game plan and, into reality, and so, you got to give him credit. But yeah, I felt bad for Jelly because he kept playing hard and he kept fighting and, he did what he was, he tried to do what he could do and just,
Mm-hmm.
they just did a great job on him. And you got to give them credit. A lot of times, it's easy to complain when a guy has a bad night, or not a typical night. It's easy to say, well, why couldn't he? But a lot of times it's the credit goes the other way. They did a good job
Yeah.
of scouting him and took him out of some things. And I thought like he tends to do when he's not hitting shots. I thought he pressed a little bit and tried to do a little too much. But I mean, but in a way, I give him credit for that because he's trying to win. He's playing hard. I mean, kid cares, and I thought he pressed a little too much at times and tried to do a little too much, and but again, that's because the defense is frustrating him and frustrating them in general.
Yeah. Yeah, just not a great night. But yeah, definitely got to tip your cap to Houston. Let's talk a little bit about Trey Jemison too, Steve. Like,
Oh
we
my
found out
goodness.
right before the game that he was playing hurt. I mean, he was clearly not 100%, but I really think that he did a great job on the boards. Like, you look at the stats, like Houston only had 10 offensive rebounds, and they only out rebounded us total by just one, 33-32. And I mean, just all the credit goes to Trey Jemison. Number one, just playing in the game. A lot of guys would have
Oh
been like, you know what, just forget it. I'll just come back next
yeah.
year. But wow, man, just what a gritty performance, especially on that hurt leg.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be so proud of him as a UAB fan. You got to be so proud of him to play, and to play effectively. It's
Yeah,
one thing to get it out, and then just not play and not be productive at all. But he was productive. I mean,
yeah,
he was, I mean, you talk about 9 rebounds, like I said, 7 points. I mean, you just, only turned the ball over a couple times, had a couple assists. I mean, he really, I mean, you got to really tip your cap to him. I mean, my goodness, he played his tail off and you could see it. You could see that he wasn't quite himself, but you couldn't see it in his production.
no,
I mean, you could see at times where he just didn't move quite as well, but and he ended up playing over 30 minutes. I think he played 30, 32, 33 minutes, something like that. And
yeah,
that's, for that, I mean, you got to, really, that was impressive, that what he did there. And, the reason, well, I'm not gonna go there, but, just, yeah, great job by him. I thought KJ Buffin played really well too. I mean, I thought he really, but he got double double. He had
yeah.
11 rebounds, and well, those are tough guys inside. They have some good
Sheesh.
inside guys, man, and
They do.
just active and I thought so. I thought both those guys really played hard and played their tails. Were they perfect? No, but they played their tails off, and you just gotta gotta give them credit because that's the other thing. Just with not being deep inside there, those guys kind of had to do that. And they stayed out of foul trouble.
They did.
They played well and they stayed out of foul trouble, which was huge. That was one thing you worry about coming in, obviously. But I thought they really did a good job of playing without fouling, and so both those guys I just was so impressed with.
Definitely. And another guy too, Steve, that I really want to talk about, who really, especially in the first half, gave UAB, a chance to stay in the ball game, and that's Taven Lovin. He ended up with 14 points. He had a couple dunks that he missed, but my God, he he was
Yeah.
not afraid, man. He was going to the rack every time he got the ball inside. It was great to kind of see him play, and he ended up playing 23 minutes coming off the bench. Yeah, so really good to see Taven Lovin kind of looking like his old self, and he's gonna come back next year for his senior season. So let's hope that kind of brings momentum into the next season for Lovin.
Yeah, you kind of wait for him to have that game, and I really thought he did look like he did, last
Yes.
year, and just, I wish he could have got more than 7 shots because I thought he
Yeah.
was the most effective guy. I thought him and Ertl were probably the two most effective offensive guys last night. For UAB, and you would have loved to see them get more shots. But yeah, both those dunk attempts were pretty impressive. Especially the first one where he got fouled on. I mean, my goodness,
Yeah.
how he even got close to the rim on that one was pretty impressive. But and again, you're waiting. I mean, we've said it all along that he's a kind of guy that can take over a game. And he just with what they did offensively this year and just kind of the guys around him, he didn't really have as much opportunity. It didn't have the opportunity that he had, last year in the past to take over games, but he's still capable of it. And hopefully next year we'll see a lot of that, and because he's certainly capable of it. And, I would like to see him, in a situation where he gets where he gets over 30 minutes a game. I mean,
Right.
obviously it's tough with what they're doing and things to find minutes for everybody, find a lot of minutes for everybody. But we'll see, we'll see moving forward. But yeah, I thought he played was really good last night, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of that.
Definitely. Well, the 2021-2022 season comes to a close for UAB. They finished 27-8 overall, Conference USA tournament champions. I mean, just a great season, a great second season for Andy Kennedy. And you know, into the dance, big dance for the first time in 7 seasons. Most wins in a season in program history for UAB this season. Definitely look forward to seeing, what they're able to do next year for the 2022-2023 season. Now, Steve, we're definitely going to miss Quan Jackson, Mike Ertl, and Justin Brown, those 3 guys. But in particular, definitely Quan Jackson and Mike Ertl. And not going to lie, man, got a little emotional at the end of the game, when Coach subbed them out and you saw them embrace each other, Earl embracing Coach and then Quan embracing Coach, because those guys, you know, you guys have heard this, they both came to UAB without even visiting, or seeing Coach in person during the weird COVID, recruiting times. So they took a chance on Coach, and I believe it, paid off. And Coach has said, he's forever indebted to those 2 guys. But we're definitely going to miss those guys moving forward.
Yeah, and on that emotional you're talking about, I really thought. I mean, Andy Kennedy gets it, man.
He
He really
does.
does, and I really thought I was really pleased that he subbed those guys out.
Yes.
Right at the end there, and was able to, get him some love from the fans, and also be able to, to kind of give him a hug there on the sideline. I thought, a lot of times, coaches don't think of that in the moment. They're still behind and they're still trying to play and that type of stuff, and that's okay. But I really enjoyed that moment, and I know he enjoyed that. I mean, it was a sad moment for him, but I know he
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed that. And so I thought that was pretty cool that that he did that. But those guys will definitely be missed. I mean, and but they also have cemented that that legacy of 2 guys that really did help turn this thing. I really did, a big part of turning this thing. And and they will be missed because they were huge parts of the last 2 years. But
Right.
obviously the program moves forward without them in a lot better position than when they started.
Definitely. And, hey, since the season's over, we'll see, what Andy Kennedy does to replace those 2 guys. We'll see, maybe if the transfer portal is involved again. We know that,
Wait. Maybe.
I was going to say, we know with
Come
Andy.
on now.
Yeah.
Come on now. You
That's
take that.
right.
Let's edit that maybe out of there because he's definitely hitting that transfer portal. And you know what? And that's where we're at now. I
Yeah.
mean, he'd be crazy not to because you basically you need to replace those 2 guys or 3, but just certainly those 2
Well, yeah.
with guys that can step right in.
Right.
You don't have a whole you don't have time to wait. And especially these days with the transfer portal world, you need to plug some guys in and go, and so yeah, there's no maybe there now. There's gonna be there's gonna be some portal work.
Definitely. But, and, UAB, we bring a lot back next year too. Jelly should come
Yeah.
back. You've got KJ coming back, Lovin, as we mentioned, coming back. There's a Jemison coming back. Ranji coming back, Tony's still young. We've got a lot of talent, coming back, hopefully, next year for the 2022-2023 season. So you're definitely right, Steve. I definitely see, AK hitting that portal, maybe getting some big guys in that can come in immediately and make an impact on this team for next year. So, but definitely just excited to, see where this program is. AK, he said before the beginning of the year, this was a revival. And I really do think, is he satisfied? No. But hey, we took that next step, getting back to the big dance for the first time in 7 seasons. So the sky's the limit. The sky really is the limit for this basketball program, especially with Andy Kennedy at the helm.
Oh, no doubt. And one thing I just saw on Twitter that kind of I hadn't really thought of, but I thought it was a great point was Steve Rutherford, who's a great UAB fan who
Shout out to
tweets a
Memphis
lot.
Blazer.
Yeah, tweets a lot of historical stuff. But he had a list of things he's going to remember about this year, and one of the things that he listed, which I think is a great point that again I hadn't really thought of, was it was great to see UAB in the tournament, and people were pleased that they were there instead of complaining about them being in.
Yes.
And I think that's a very important point that it shows the steps that they've taken as a program. Because there was no complaint about they don't belong. There were people saying, hey, this is a good basketball team. And that's important to me. As as a mid major and as a in a one bid league
Right.
and all that type of stuff, there is a lot of complaining about teams to get in and that are not from the power or whatever you want to call it. So I thought that was a great point that he made. I think that shows where where the progress that Andy Kennedy has made with this program in just 2 years. Just 2 seasons. I think that's pretty neat, and that's something we shouldn't forget.
Yeah, no doubt. Glad you brought that up, Steve. Well, guys, this will wrap up our basketball for the 2021-2022 season. Again, a great year. So proud of our Blazers. Can't wait to see what happens next year. And, we'll try, and see if we can get AK on the podcast again at some point. But, thank you guys so much for listening to all of our, tournament episodes, going back to the Conference USA tournament and then this, NCAA tournament. It's so I'm just so glad, we were able to play meaningful basketball in March, which is, something UAB hasn't done in a long time. But again, sky's the limit for this. Sky is the limit for this Blazers program, and can't wait to see where we go going forward. But as always, guys, thanks for listening. If you're not subscribed to the podcast, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast on a podcast platform. And we'll be back soon because we've still got spring football, spring practice. So we'll be back on the podcast talking some UAB football. But as always, guys, thank you so much, and go Blazers.